we were talking off air because you said to me that you were maybe the oldest person they ever hired, WWE. I was just looking at Fred Blassie's Wikipedia, so it's always right, as you know, Wikipedia is. And he retired as a manager from the WWF in '86, which would have made him 68. So I don't know if he was on the road full time like you were, but I mean that's one of the older on-screen performers that WWE hired.
But he was working there, already working there.
Yeah.
What year did they hire him back? Is what I'm saying.
The management career, it says 74 to 86. So as far as initial hiring, you would have been older than Freddie.
My initial hiring, I was 64. You know, it's a funny thing. When I got there that day, half the dressing room, I'd say less than that, half the dressing room knew who I was. I could hear them talking. Who's that guy over there? Who's he? What's he doing? Somebody say, somebody order pizza, something. but you know, the ones that knew me, they said, oh, that's Dutch. You don't know him? No. And they'd look at him like, where the hell have you been? You know, but that means they didn't watch. The territory system had died out by that time. So there was nowhere for them to see me anyway. So
how did you come to WWE's attention was it 2013 that you went back?
Swagger, he had a father figure. His name was, he was a cousin to Ron and Robert Fuller, Jimmy Golden. He came in as Papa Swagger. But there's something about Jimmy. His strong suit is not interviews. And you know how Vince can get turned off quickly. So they put him out against Swagger, with Swagger as his daddy. And he didn't work out. And something happened about a year earlier. And they really wanted to do something with Swagger. So they called me up one day and didn't tell me they wanted to team me up with Swagger. They just said, can we have a meeting with you? They were coming to Nashville. I was still living in Nashville. I said, yeah, I guess. They said, are you available? And I said, well, pretty much. That's my booking sheet. It's pretty kind of quiet right now. But so I went down there at the Bridgestone Arena. It's still called Bridgestone Arena. Walked in and I met the chief talent coordinator, Mark, whatever his name was. He got Serrano. They fired him about 2, 3, 4 years later. And they said, hey, Triple H wants to talk to you. And I went, well, what's he want to talk to me about? But I thought they wanted me to do something with NXT. They never told me what they wanted. So finally, I went to catering, sat down. I knew a bunch of guys there, not everybody. And that's when the guys were asking, who is that? Who is that? So finally, Triple H walks in. He said, hey, Dutch, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. We shook hands. But he called me Zeb because he knew me as Zebekiah. And he said, listen, this is what we got in mind for you. We want you to kind of be a mouthpiece for Swagger because they had a political movement going on at the time. And they wanted me to try to attach myself to that. And they said, this is what we want you to be. An older guy who's kind of disappointed in the way the country is turning out, who believes that America's best days are behind them, and we're turning our country over to immigrants. And we want you to kind of talk about that. I said, okay. He said, well, come down here. We're gonna do a little audition tape. Excuse me.
It's all that cigar smoking.
That probably, but it's never lit. So And he said, we're going to do a little audition tape. We're going to show it to Vince, and we'll give you an answer before the day's over. Okay. So I go in there, and they had about 8 TV personnel in there with sound and lights, and this and that. And I went, damn. Now, it wasn't all for me. It was they were doing other interviews too. But I started out and I said, because what he was telling me to be was kind of what I was feeling. And I says, when I look at America today, I don't see people, faces that I know, that I recognize. And when they speak, I don't understand the language that they're using. And I don't understand or like the food they eat. And then I went on to say, and I did about 3 of these. And I says, this is what I want to know. Where did America go? Where did my America go? And I did that 3 times. And the crew kind of give me a little a round of applause. And at the very end, somebody said, why don't you put your hand over, this is not my idea. Put your hand over your heart and you say, we the people, where did you go? Vince saw that about 30 minutes later, and Triple H called me and he says, well, got some news for you. I said, well, Vince didn't like it. I know. He said, no. He said, hire him right now. You're on TV. You're on TV tonight. Because very seldom does Vince like stuff like that. But he liked my stuff. And I walked in at 4:30 in the afternoon. I met at 3:30 in the afternoon. I met Triple H at 4:30 in the afternoon. I did my audition at 5:30 in the afternoon. I met with Triple H again at 6:30 and got hired. From 3:30 to 6:30, a 3-hour time span. I've never known anybody to get hired in that frame of time. And then I walked in the dressing room and walked out with Swagger that night, and it had nothing, had leaked to the internet, nothing. And it was in Nashville where people knew me. And you could just feel the arena light up when I walked out because they recognized me. And they wrote an interview for me. So I was doing about the same thing. And, I'm a real American. Swagger's a real American, blah, blah, blah. And I did We the People. About halfway through it, they kind of got it. And then when I asked them to stand, it was the first time I ever asked them to stand. And about half of them stood up, put their hand over their heart, say along with me. And they didn't know what I was going to say. We the people. But when I said we, they kind of got it. So the next interview I did the next night, it was almost like the same night. They got it halfway through. But from then on, when I asked the people to stand and say along with me, we the people, they did it. That's why they thought I was going to be such a big heel. Now, I don't know about you. If you had a guy in England and he says, God save the Queen, and he's talking about the country, I don't think you'd be a heel. I think you'd be an over baby face. So, and we kind of got over because I actually had a legitimate issue to talk about. And I had, a bunch of Glenn Roberts talked about me, and some more Fox News picked it up. And I think CNN picked it up. So what it did was it got that interview news out there that I was there doing that. Of course, they were all blasting WWE for taking that topic and trying to make a joke out of it. WWE didn't care. WWE wanted clickbait and they wanted viewers. And it worked.
Glenn Beck was the name.
Glenn Beck. What a piece of crap he is anyway.